I want to talk about Quinshon Judkins. I feel like this Quinshon Judkins thing, especially when it comes to whatever fantasy, real life, I feel like a lot of people got fooled by a situation. The guy sits out 1 week. The guy was somebody that we thought was a great running back coming out of college, but with the pending case that he had, a lot of people are off on him, and he has been pretty much the heartbeat of this Browns offense. Everything is running through him. I think he has looked absolutely phenomenal. I think he's looked better in between the tackles than I thought. They haven't really used him as much in the receiving game, and I think he's a great receiving back as well. I think this is a guy that could play all four downs in the NFL one day. I mean, we've seen it in spurts with the Browns right now, but a guy that could play all four downs, what he's able to do running in between the tackles, what he's able to do in the receiving game. Like, this is a do it all back, and I feel like the Browns are really running the offense through him. And it's largely because of, their quarterback situation, even from Joe Flacco in the first couple of weeks to the rookies they have now and the defense they have. Like, this is AFC North football. This is running the football, playing defense in these temperatures. Again, it's going to get even worse later in the year when it comes to that. But again, I am very impressed with Quinshon Judkins. Even for me in fantasy, I regret that I didn't select him. I think he has been phenomenal. He looked good in his college career. We knew this was a guy that was going to pan out, but again, with the pending case and everything, everybody was concerned of him. Now, my only thing with Quinshon Judkins, like, he has looked great, and he's seventh in carries after missing a game as well, that beginning game. My only concern is, again, and we're going to talk about with Ashton Genty as well, is having these rookie star running backs and giving them a lot of work early in their career when that team isn't necessarily competing now. And then if the Browns don't get it right in the next 2 or 3 years, you basically use this guy's shelf life as a running back where he wasn't really impacting winning necessarily because the team just wasn't there yet. But I absolutely love Quinshon Judkins, and I think he's thriving necessarily from the situation. Not only the Browns being good in the trenches, but he's thriving, again, them not having their quarterback and the whole offense basically running through him. What do you think of Quinshon Judkins so far?
Yeah, no, he's been very impressive. He's been very impressive. Yeah, no, his whole situation, I think, scared people off a little bit. And Dylan Sampson was getting work early on, but now he's kind of taken over. Um, I know you brought up, comparing him and Genty. I mean, we both agree, obviously, because I know we've talked about this. The Browns are like, they have a good team. Like, they have a good roster. Like, they just need to figure out this quarterback situation. And I feel like if they once they get that figured out, and they could probably add another pass catcher, but they got some young players on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense is really good. Like, I think they're going to be in a position where they can compete. Whereas the Raiders, I think there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done before they can really start to compete. And on top of that, the division is, impossible for them right now. Hence, we saw, them losing 31-0 to the Chiefs on Sunday. So, yeah, but I've been really impressed by him. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really been used as a receiver at times, but I mean, the explosiveness from him, he's really been a game breaker since taking over and being that number one back. So that's something that Browns fans got to be excited about. I mean, I guess, kind of gives them reminders, I guess, of when Nick Chubb first broke onto the scene. So, yeah, no, I really like how he's been playing, and it's just something that, the Browns can continue to build a building block for the Browns as they try to get themselves back to being a playoff team, which is, it's not going to be this year, but like I said, the quarterback position, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I think is something that, it separates them from, being a team that's not competing to a team that's going to be competing in the near future.
Yeah, and I think, again, he is getting a lot of work, obviously, with the play calling and the quarterbacks and with the having offense and the style they want to play all being in place. But again, also it is pretty difficult when the play calling is predictable. There's no vertical passing threat, and you got to play your defense like very in between the lines, and basically what's coming, and to not have that threat and still be running the football good. I think it's pretty impressive. Now we're going to talk about the quarterbacks on Cleveland and what their plan is moving forward. Now, we have debated, again, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. I have made multiple episodes on this podcast about it. It is one of the hottest topics still in football, even though Shador Sanders hasn't even stepped onto the field yet. Everybody still loves to talk about him. Again, I like doing it in intervals. I don't want to just continue to talk about Shador Sanders when nothing is really going on with him. But it has been a while since we've done it. Talking about Dylan Gabriel first, 546 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has a 28.8 QBR, which, again, is really rough. What I'm seeing from Dylan Gabriel right now, and Kevin Stefanski continues to praise this and give it a little too much love. But again, they're working a QB in the system. We talked about the Giants, how they have limited play calling. And again, we talked about the Browns' style of play, how their defense, you could argue, is number one in the league. Their running game is pretty good as well. Dylan Gabriel is out there right now just trying not to turn the ball over and not to make a mistake. And I feel like it's necessarily like hurting him in the long run because, again, he's not making the mistake. He's moving on from week to week. They do get a win last week, but you're going to have to take chances. If you want to keep your job in the NFL, you're going to have to keep taking chances. And for Dylan Gabriel, that's on like such a timeline right now. And time like isn't his friend necessarily because of the other rookie quarterback they have in place and where he's got drafted. Like he's got to make the most of this opportunity now. And we have talked about it. Again, they don't have the ideal weapons, the Cleveland Browns, but they don't have bad weapons either. Like Jerry Jeudy and Njoku, Bannon Jr. has looked really good. Like they have good players, like good enough players to have a vertical threat in the passing game to take shots. But again, at the same time, it comes down to the play calling as well with Kevin Stefanski, and the play calling isn't necessarily there. And the shots he has as in the vertical passing game only come a handful of times in the game. He obviously doesn't choose to make that move necessarily. But again, what we were talking about with Jackson Dart making off-script type plays and stuff, you don't necessarily see that from Dylan Gabriel. You see, again, him going through his progressions, and then when it doesn't work out, either hit the check down, throwing it away. Everything is pretty safe. And like I said, for a guy like Dylan Gabriel that doesn't have the draft capital, has another rookie in the room, and apparently the rumor is, I don't know if you heard more about it than I did because I've only heard it from a couple of things on social media. I don't even know if the sources were accurate. Apparently the Browns are looking to play Shador Sanders in the last 4 games. I don't know if you saw that. I don't really remember where it came from. But if Shador Sanders is going to play, I necessarily don't even like what the Browns are doing if that is the case, because you have this third-round rookie in Dylan Gabriel, and you're putting him on like a time constraint. I feel like you should be evaluating play. And I think it's very hard for, again, Shador Sanders fans to really realize that, like, at the end of the day, Shador Sanders is a 5th-round pick. This guy got drafted significantly higher than him. So to give both QBs a shot necessarily, and, like, again, I don't agree with it. I feel like you should be going off play and how you should be grading the 3rd-round rookie quarterback based on their play without somebody behind him. Because once you take Dylan Gabriel out to put Shador Sanders in, whether he's playing bad enough to lose his job or not, it's very hard to insert that guy back in, whether it's later in the year or next year. You take a rookie quarterback out of the starting job, you completely demolish his confidence. We've seen it time and time again in the NFL. When somebody gets taken out at that young of an age as a signal caller, most of the time they are like done. So again, I feel like it should be going on based off his play, not a set timeline. Like, oh, we see Dylan Gabriel, we see Shador Sanders, and then we evaluate at the end of the season. This Browns team, again, like we said, they are pretty good everywhere else. They're really good in the trenches. Their defense is really good. Their weapons, again, not the best weapons in the league, but I feel like good enough as well if you have somebody you are confident in as a signal caller. But I don't even know necessarily with those weapons and with those veterans what the Browns' move is going to be. Like, again, we look at them as a team that could possibly compete once they find this quarterback position right in the next couple of years, but they might move off a Jeudy. They might move off a Njoku, guys that are pushing the timeline in age that are veterans when they aren't competing right now. So we don't necessarily know if the roster they have now is going to be the roster they end with at the end of the year. But again, Dylan Gabriel, I feel like he has to step it up a little bit. I believe he plays the Patriots this week. Then they go on bye. So again, it is setting up pretty nicely for Shedeur Sanders to come in if that is an option, because we all know how hot the Patriots have been. Then they come off a bye week. Like, that would be the time you put Shedeur Sanders in. But again, I think, like, again, we see Cam Ward, we see a bunch of other people. Like, Dylan Gabriel isn't playing bad, and I feel like his timeline is being affected by Shedeur Sanders. Not necessarily, like, he's not giving a fair timeline based on how he's playing. What do you think of this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, really the Browns can only blame themselves for this situation because they were the team that, ended up taking Shedeur in the 5th round at the same time as, 2 rounds before that, you take Dylan Gabriel. So now it's just created this mayhem, this, controversy now. So, and that's something that they are going to have to live with. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being true. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing Shedeur Sanders. Like, if they feel like they want to give him a chance and see if maybe he can provide more of a spark to the offense, because you could definitely tell from Dylan Gabriel's brief NFL career so far. Well, how his NFL career has been so far, games that he's played in, that there are limitations. And he also doesn't have a big arm. He kind of just gives you that. He's kind of like Tua Tagovailoa, but without, obviously Tua had a great 2023, but Tua is limited as well, and Tua hasn't had a great year either. And that's a whole nother situation. But yeah, Dylan Gabriel is just a game manager right now. And I know, I was watching when they were playing the Steelers, and the Steelers, they won. I think the final score was like 23-6 or something like that. But he also wasn't getting help from his receivers at times. Dylan Gabriel, they were dropping passes as well. So that obviously doesn't help. But once you're falling behind, I mean, it's going to be hard to try to get back in the game. And obviously, you look at how the Miami game went, and they were in control that entire time because Tua was turning the ball over, the defense was playing well, and then obviously it's easy to just hand it off to Quinshon Judkins, and he, does the rest. So right now it doesn't look like Dylan Gabriel is going to be the answer, and I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is going to be the answer. But if they want to give him a chance and see if he gives them more with the offense, then by all means they could do that. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird situation that they kind of put themselves in. And now, the Browns kind of look silly because now you trade away Joe Flacco and look at what he's done with the Bengals, the first 2 games he's been there. And it's like, why couldn't that have happened here? So it's a weird situation, but if they can figure it out and they get it right, the team's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, the thing is too, like, obviously, like, the Bengals don't have Chase. I mean, the Browns don't have Chase and Higgins, but at the same time, like, I think it really comes down to, like, the play calling. Like, I don't even think it's the fact that the Bengals have better weapons. Does that help? Yeah, definitely help Joe Flacco look good. But at the same time, like, you have this play calling with Joe Flacco. He hasn't looked as good as he looked in the past 2 years. You have this play calling with Dylan Gabriel. Again, he may win this battle for right now, not turning the ball over, but he's not going to win the war playing like this. Then you throw Shedeur Sanders in this as well with the play calling. It just seems like what they are doing right now to try to keep themselves in games, no matter who the quarterback is, the play calling is going to set them up to fail. And like I said, with Dylan Gabriel, I feel like the chances with the play calling are very limited. But at the same time, you're going to have to take the chances when they are there because, like the analogy I just mentioned, like, you're going to win the battle, like, and you're going to keep pushing yourself week to week, not turning the ball over. But you're not going to win the war of being a long-term quarterback without taking chances. And again, I just hate how it came down to this. But like you said, the Browns made their bet in the situation, and now they got to lay in it with the 2 quarterbacks they have. There's literally a better chance with a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick if you take out, again, Dylan Gabriel's great college career along with Shedeur Sanders. There's a better chance probably that neither of them pan out than one of them pan out. But the way everything has just been with Cleveland, it has been Cleveland X, but it has been a mess. And I think a lot of it with Shedeur Sanders and the owner, like, you saw the owner's kids wearing Shedeur Sanders jerseys on the side. Like, that's not a great look as well when you have a rookie quarterback playing. But I think more of it has just been selecting Shedeur Sanders for media attention and the revenue and give them a lot of money, which, again, Shedeur Sanders right now, his jersey's hotter than anybody. Again, a lot of people want to see him with the media attention. Like, he's making the Browns money, but I feel like it's even, again, I'm not the biggest Shedeur Sanders fan, but it's like almost more of a gimmick than like actually giving the kid a chance. And I think it should basically go on week to week in practice what you were seeing from each person. And then again, whoever's in right now going off of that instead of putting these set timelines like we see Dylan Gabriel for 4 weeks, we see Shedeur Sanders for 4 weeks, and then we evaluate at the end of the season. Because again, you keep bringing these guys in and out, both their confidences are going to be shattered because they are rookies. I think it's just like, again, not a great situation. And I think there's a great chance as well, even though I'm not in love with the quarterback class next year, which I continue to go over on this podcast, there's a chance they're picking again next year. It is going to be tough, though. Like, the Browns do have 2 wins right now. And if they manage to win like 2 or 3 more games, they're not going to have like the first, second, third pick probably. So, again, they have the Jaguars pick as well. They have capital, but I don't even know. Like we said, their team is pretty good, but we don't know what the ending result's going to be. We don't know really how these quarterbacks are going to look, if any of them are the guy. And then as well, like we keep talking about Stefanski's play calling. Like, there's a great chance Stefanski's the next coach fired anyway. So he might not even be calling plays for them at the end of this year to next year as well. Anything else to cap off this quarterback situation with the Browns?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, Stefanski won Coach of the Year 2 years ago, and 2 years later, it could be he's on his way out, which I wouldn't have a problem with.
Yeah, either would I. Again, I think, again, whether it's Dylan Gabriel, whether it's Stefanski, they're playing to move on week to week, not to secure their job long term.
And what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson?
I don't even know. Again, with the time off and how Deshaun Watson looked with the time off, I don't even know if there's a realistic.
I mean, because I think they're just going to cut ties and they're going to have to eat that money, and that's just another layer to add in the long list of quarterbacks that just have not panned out, and just it's just the Browns are still searching. And I think, listen, at the time it was different, people were different, but the guy that's playing over in Tampa, you know, you had him and you said we're good. So
that's a lot of this too. Like, when you look at the Browns, when you look at the Panthers, when you look at all these people, all these teams that like have historically been bad for like the time we were growing up. Again, all these teams had a couple years here and there. Everybody does in 25 years, but these teams have had good quarterbacks and just still continuously don't make it work. It's almost like, to me, it's like no matter almost who you put there, unless it's just an all-time talent, they're going to get it wrong. And there has been, like, again, with all these quarterbacks, there have been moments, Baker Mayfield with them, again, where he leads them to a playoff win. And then you look at Daniel Jones leading the Giants to a playoff win. Like, there has been glimpses of success with these people, but it's just like the organization just continuously failed them. And it's just...
Yeah, and you brought up the Panthers. I mean, look at what they did with Cam Newton. They were a team that made the playoffs a lot, and they even went to a Super Bowl.
Like, again, even the Panthers, it's even worse because you had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold in the same room. And then next year you draft a quarterback in Bryce Young, who we're going to talk about in a little bit in this episode when we talk about Ted McMillan. But you draft a quarterback in Bryce Young where the question marks are still out there with him. You use this, you trade up to get him, and now you had 2 quarterbacks in your room that we looked at as really good quarterbacks in the NFL. So it almost seems like whatever these teams do just puts themselves in the wrong. And, like, again, even when they have good quarterbacks that you see later in their career pan out, it's like are they ever going to get it right again?
Yeah.
Like, how many times do we see the Browns and the Jets and all these teams draft at the top continuously, and we see all these guys that we are super high on coming out of college, and they come in and they look like they don't even know how to play. And again, Baker Mayfield wasn't that to me. Like, he had moments at least for the Browns where he had looked good, But again, you look at like a guy like Sam Darnold and the Jets or whatever, it was like pretty rough the whole way through. Zach Wilson, whoever, like all these guys, Geno Smith on the Jets or whatever, he looked good for Seattle for like a little bit. Like all these guys like look at least better in other places. And I don't know. The Deshaun Watson thing, not to go on a tangent, it was like very weird from the start of that signing. Like with
Yeah,
everything going around him, with him having the year off, and
yeah.
more recently before that, people
They were taking a huge gamble, and it did not pay off at all.
and it wasn't even in the sense of like I feel like most of the gamble during that time of like if he was like going to play with the cases, but like he was able to play for the Browns, whether it was whatever injuries that sideline and bad play, but like that wasn't even the gamble to that point. He just again couldn't overcome that year off, which we see a lot of people
Yeah,
not be able to
and
overcome.
he's had significant injuries. Ruptured his Achilles, and then he ruptured it again.
And it's going to be tough, I feel like, for Deshaun Watson. And I think it was very similar to Cam Newton towards the end of his career as well. When you have a guy that's like, I don't even know, like that big of a name as a backup quarterback, it leads teams to not even want to sign them as a backup quarterback. So I feel like it's going to be hard for him once he moves off the Browns, which I do anticipate is going to happen, for another team with everything around Deshaun Watson to invest as in like that popular or that known of a name as a backup quarterback. Again, it's going to be interesting to see. The Browns could be drafting a quarterback again, or maybe Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders is the answer. But again, I think a lot of it was very gimmicky, and I think it really led them as a football team to have a lot of attention that's going to cause a little rift there, to say the least. Anyway.